Hi everyone. Welcome to the November 2022 edition of Farsight's Human News, the remote viewing news forecast show that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I'm Aziz Brown from Farsight. Before I go on, let's recap what happened with our last Human News forecast. Again, this month, a big hit was Kahmia's session, where she reported on a jet that malfunctions and crashes into an urban area that is near water. Well, that is what the lead story on CNN, BBC, and much of the world news in mid-October was, when a Russian Su-34 fighter bomber crashed into a tower block in a residential area of the Russian town of Yeysk. Yeysk is on the coast of the Sea of Azov, which connects to the Black Sea. The cause of the crash was a malfunction, possibly caused by a bird hitting one of the engines. That was a particularly unusual type of event that was nicely foreseen in Kahmia's report, especially when considering much of the detail in that session. Intysam reported on an aerial attack on subjects and structures that contained weapons. That report matches the events that have been very prominent in the ongoing war in Ukraine during the month of October. Yeme reported on a major and violent weather and water event involving stranded or wrecked ships. Unfortunately, Hurricane Julia killed 91 people just after the first week in October when it slammed into much of Latin America. Shantae reported on what appeared to be two women who are murdered in a large structure. Indeed, there was an incident that seemed to closely match Shantae's session that was reported on in the news in early October, occurring in the park at Hoover Apartment Homes in Hoover, Alabama, not far from Birmingham, where two women were found shot and murdered. In terms of my own session, I reported on a subject in a wilderness or backwoods area being attacked by a bear. As it turned out, there were a few bear attacks in October, but two in particular seemed to closely match the session. One occurred in Newcastle, Colorado in early October, and it caught the attention of the national news. There was another attack, this time by a grizzly, that happened in the wilderness of Wyoming in mid-October. And this incident also made the national news. The bear attacked a hunter, and it seems that the hunter became the hunted. So we seem to have 5 clear hits of very diverse events. Again, not bad for a news forecast for the month of October. I again want to emphasize that our viewers do these human news reports with only one session each. With many of our other projects, such as our mysteries projects, the viewers return to the target more than once to get enough details to sort out what is going on. So, in our view, getting this stuff correct with only one session is quite challenging and pretty good. So, now let me announce our next major mysteries project, the mystery of Nikola Tesla. That's right, many people in our forums have been asking for a project on Nikola Tesla for a long while, and we finally did it. Nikola Tesla was such an unusual inventor, coming up with so many novel ideas and inventions that seemed so far ahead of his time. It only made sense to question how he could have done all of this and how any single person could think up all of these ideas. Well, we found out exactly what was going on inside of Nikola Tesla's head, and you are going to find out on November 15th, in just about 2 weeks. This is a great project that you are all going to want to see. The targets for this project are filled with verifiables, and lots of surprises are revealed. November 15th, only on farsightprime.com. Now let me make a very special announcement regarding our next Farsight Intelligence Briefing that will occur on Sunday, the 6th of November 2022 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard U.S. Time. These are very unusual times, and this is a highly unusual intelligence briefing that many of you may want to see. This briefing is specifically intended for the United States military, especially the most senior military officers across all branches. Now, let me be clear. The U.S. military has not asked us to do this briefing, and we are not saying that the U.S. military is going to attend the briefing or even watch the recording of the briefing. They do not communicate these things to us, and if they did watch the briefing, they certainly would not tell anyone about it. Nonetheless, we feel that the United States military needs to hear this briefing, and whether or not they are watching or listening, it's going to happen. Everyone in our audience is also, of course, invited to attend. It will be a live stream as usual, but the live stream will be taken down from YouTube immediately after it is concluded and posted as a recording on farsightprime.com the next day. So, if you want to watch it on YouTube, you will need to be there on time. To get the exact time and link for the live stream, you need to be subscribed to our free Farsight email newsletter, which you can do on our website, farsight.org. Again, Sunday, November 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. It is unlikely that we will have a similar Farsight intelligence briefing in the foreseeable future, so you can probably consider this to be a one-time event. Next, our forecast for the S&P 500 for the months of September and October can now be evaluated, and it turns out that we were spot on for this time period. For those of you who are interested in economic applications of remote viewing, you may be interested in watching those. We post a summarizing video for each forecast, and then we often post a more detailed printed description of the forecast results in the comments section below this video. We also continue to publish our Seco Plus long-term forecasts for various cryptocurrencies. The current downturn in the cryptocurrency markets were a predicted feature in many of our Seco forecasts, which is a good sign in a predictive sense, especially considering that we expect this downturn to be a temporary downturn. And, of course, remember our disclaimer. No one at Farsight is a licensed financial advisor, so anything that anyone at Farsight does that relates to using remote viewing to predict financial or economic outcomes of any type, including the performance, however defined, or selling prices of cryptocurrencies, stocks, commodities, or anything else, is done for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everyone doing investments are doing so at their own risk. These are experiments in remote viewing, and there are no guarantees or warranties being made, either expressed or implied. Nonetheless, these efforts are truly interesting on a grand scale, and we at Farsight believe that after we do this for a while, it will be hard for anyone to ignore the reality of remote viewing. Moving on, for those of you who want personalized instruction in remote viewing, Yeme Jeaneé and Intysam are teaching remote viewing both individually and in groups. Our methods are sufficiently complex that we use pre-printed templates for our sessions. Yeme and Intysam can work with you individually or in groups as you learn to use these methods yourself. Our approaches address a wide range of applications that we do here at Farsight, including investment evaluations and forecasting. We do lots of stuff that nobody else does, and it's a big subject. But for those who are interested, Yeme and Intysam will show you how we do what we do. Be patient in learning any of our methods. Nothing that we do was learned in a day. Also, understand that when Yeme and Intysam teach remote viewing, no one at Farsight gets any financial benefits from this. Yeme and Intysam do this entirely on their own. Remember also that there is a large collection of instructional videos on farsightprime.com. Moving on, how do you hear about all of our activities that we do at Farsight so that you can participate and get the latest when they happen, including our live stream events? To start with, we use our email list and YouTube to make our major event announcements. So there are two things that you need to do. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel and remember to click on the notifications bell that appears after you click the subscribe button. That is the only way that YouTube will notify you about our new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't actually do anything. The notification bell is the important part. but that only notifies you of things that we release on YouTube. To be notified about the things that we release on farsightprime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps on the web and on your home TV, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. You can also allow our apps to notify you of our new releases on farsightprime.com. So be sure to do all three things. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight, and remember to click on the notifications bell, and then subscribe to our free email newsletter that you can find on our website, farsight.org. And finally, go to the settings of our app and allow it to give you notifications of our new releases on farsightprime.com. The links for YouTube and our newsletter are in the description area below this video, and the app is, well, it's on your phone. Those are how we announce what we do. We never send out spam, and we never give our subscriber lists to anyone else for any other purposes. Now, let's move on to this month's Human News Forecast for November 2022. Remember, we could always be wrong, and all remote viewing must be seen as an experiment, not a certainty. But look at the data for yourself, make your own decisions, and then let's watch the month roll out to see what actually happens. We have 5 remote viewers who participated in this month's project: Kahmia, Dunson, Yeme Jeaneé, Intysam, Shantae, and myself, Aziz. These reports are amazing to watch, and it is best for you to just watch them for yourself without me trying to explain them in advance. So let's begin our forecast for November 2022. I will return after all of the reports are presented to help pull everything together.
Starting off, I have irregular topography here. It looks like a bunch of sand mounds, like, I wouldn't say like mountains, but a lot of things kind of on top of each other. Sandy, dirty type things. Okay, so a lot of that going on in the background, and then like a little, more of a flatter area in the forefront. And then there we have this big thing of like smoke and energetics, like that. It kind of comes outwards like this. And then there's a structure here as well. So just some sort of structure. It's got like some sort of point sticking out the top. Doesn't feel like anything's inside the point. It feels like a tower or something like that, This is a standalone structure that is by itself out in the middle of nowhere. That looks like this sand dune, mound, empty area. There are subjects inside of this surface structure here. There are a couple of subjects, maybe on the surface structure, outside, a couple. And then a couple inside here as well. There's also a non-surface structure. It kind of feels like it's been gone. Maybe it came earlier and then it is left. So it feels very distant from this event right now. But there is a non-surface structure here. And there are subjects inside of this non-surface structure as well. The general environment here is natural. Like I said, it feels very natural. The only structure here right now is this surface structure, and it does feel like it's kind of isolated from surrounding cities in a sense. I hear this very static shock sound, almost like my ears are ringing, like everyone's ears are ringing, and there's a sort of sound. If you can imagine static TV or something like that. That is kind of what the area sounds like, very loud, man-made sounds, talking, whispers, something like that. I will say that the subjects on the base surface here are mostly male. It does feel like there's maybe 1 or 2 female subjects here, but for the most part there are male subjects on the base surface. These subjects feel really anxious, they feel shocked, they're wow, I can't believe what I'm witnessing. That's how these subjects are feeling on the base surface. For my next visual, I once again have this sand mound background thing going on here, like that, sand mounds. Okay, so that. Then I see, again, this big cloud of energetics, big cloud of cloud dynamics, and then some, a little skinny tube here, like that. In this cloud dynamics, big cloud thing, I do see a ball, and it looks like a ball like this. And then it's like from that ball, it's like a lot of energetics radiate, a lot of heat radiates, and a lot of like sound waves radiate from here. There doesn't feel like there's any subjects like right beneath here, like right underneath or near the ball, but it does feel like, a little bit off to the side, maybe like right over here. We got that structure again. Yeah. This is like a big facility, like by itself, kind of. Out here, it does feel kind of like some sort of like military. It only feels military because it feels like this place is like not authorized. Like the idea that there's a structure that's just kind of out here by its lonesome with subjects. It's somebody knows is out there. Somebody has the authority to be out there, and that's all like I'm gonna say about that. So moving on, the target event. At the target event, there is this big explosion, okay? There is something that this non-surface structure does come closer to this area. It does drop something out of its facility. It drops down onto the ground, big ball bursts. Explosive energetics, explosive heat, multi-directional movement. It's going everywhere. It's going everywhere, okay? But it doesn't touch this structure over here, surprisingly. The subjects are safe, nothing's destroyed. It's just like this area over here is just blown up for some reason, and the structure, non-surface structure, drops it, explodes, flies away. It's really gone before this thing can even really hit the ground, Oh. Forgot to draw my little non-surface structure, but that's what he looks like. Okay, big long things, and then like a little overhead part, a little underhead part. But yes, okay. It does feel like that. No subjects in the structure were harmed. It doesn't really feel like there were any subjects over here either. But I can't help but shake this feeling like there was some sort of subject casualty. So it does feel like maybe like one or two subjects didn't make it, but it doesn't feel like, for the most part, like it was just a full blown out like casualty potluck, like everybody just exploded. It's not what happened here. But yeah, just that feeling as well. So moving to like why the target event happened. When I'm thinking about the cause of this event, I do feel like I'm inside, I'm inside a structure, I'm on the base surface, but I'm not anywhere near here. And I'm not saying like I'm way far on like the other side of the world. I just feel pretty distant from this area. There are male subjects inside this surface structure talking. It does feel like someone's making a decision. I feel this idea of testing. So these subjects here and these subjects here, they actually they know each other. This is the same people. It feels like they're running some sort of like test, like they're testing something or they're preparing for something. It doesn't feel like this kind of attack was meant to be malicious or meant to, harm anybody. It definitely feels like it was just something that they were trying to test out for maybe future endeavors. Maybe they're preparing for something. But yeah, something explodes near a facility that is owned by the people who exploded it. And they're doing it because they're testing things and they're trying to figure out, best plan of action. Does this work? And they have the authority to do so. You know what I mean? That's why I was thinking it was, you know, something in military or something like that, because it does feel like they have the authority and they're doing it for a reason. So yeah, that is all I have for this target.
All right, so for this target, I'm getting a base surface with irregular topography. However, I'm not sure if, because I'm seeing like up and down, but I'm not sure if it's from the building or from the actual landscape. It is an urban area. There are some tall buildings, and this environment looks like land-water interface because there is a large body of water. And I'm sensing some energetics emitting from this body of water. Like it seems to be somewhat rough. The temperatures in this environment are quite cool. And then there is a large urban area with a lot of man-made structures, subjects inside and outside. I'm also getting structures in the water. So, yeah, it's meant to be a structure that's on the water. All right, the other thing I'm picking up is some non-surface structures. There is, I think I'm picking up like 2 at this moment. Okay, so at the time of me viewing this environment, it is daylight, so I can see everything very clearly. I'm hearing like shouting voices, like booming sounds, and I'm also picking up energetics, like outward explosive energetics with fire and heat. And it looks like, so there's a lot of energetics, first of all from the water, right? But in terms of the heat and outward explosiveness energetics, it looks like it's kind of coming from a structure that's within the urban environment. So it seems like it's coming from a structure, right? And then somewhere within this urban environment, like inside here somewhere, there is a group of a crowd that's forming. So this is like way in there, right? Is this crowd that's here. So when I move to the target activity in this session, I'm sensing activity coming from a few places. There is some panic that's coming from these subjects right here, and I'm feeling like there's kind of like subjects that are running everywhere. But there's also activity that's coming from the water, and I am not sure if this is like part of this target, or if maybe it's just like rough waters. However, it's significant. The movement within this water is significant, and it's actually like, I can even sense some within the streets of this urban environment, like there's water spilling into the streets here. So I was deducting something like a dam that's broken. Like maybe could be, right? Just to get it out of my head. The water itself, when I look at it, is kind of like blue hues, like dark blue hues, like very, very dark water. Okay, so let's move to the target event. Okay, target event. Very, very dynamic environment, like I've said, with a lot of activity and energetics coming from both the water, and then you have these energetics that's coming here. So the energetics, I'm not sure if it's like a domino effect, starting from the water and then setting off something that is then setting this structure on fire, then for it to like smoke. I don't know. I don't know if they're related in any way. So, collective deep mind probe. So for my, let's see, when I'm tapping into these subjects, there's a good deal of chaos that's happening. But the subjects seem like they're staying very organized and resolute. It seems like there is quite a good deal of panic. However, there's something that's kicking in within the subjects that's leading them to be like, okay, we gotta do this, right? We gotta take care of whatever's happening here. So that's for the collective deep mind probe, right? If I pick one subject, one random subject that's present, and I do a deep mind probe, okay, immediately I'm getting like a sense of sadness. But the emotions of this subject, they're not directed towards a certain thing. It's just like their emotions just are. They're just feeling them. They're not directed towards like maybe this was caused by something or someone. Oh, it was definitely caused by something, but not by someone. So yeah, I'm not seeing a responsible party. But I could be wrong. Yeah. But they do have quite significant emotions here. Like they are very, very sad. And wary. There's like awareness emitting from them. And then in their mind's eye, I'm also seeing the destruction of this infrastructure in this urban environment. So my view from like 5,000 feet upwards is pretty much the same. It's like the land-water interface, the structures, one particular structure that seems to be more damaged than the rest, and you can see that you can see the energetics even from high up there, and then with the water. So that's all I have for this target.
Natural and man-made land here. Lots of subjects kind of filed in line. Some are scattered, very focused, gathering high energy. This feels very political. That is a deduction because I cannot claim that, but this feels very political. There are structures here. I got some mountains with some foliage. Structures, land. Very urban environment. Again, with this like natural qualities here. This place has got a decent amount of like city versus nature, or foliage and land. I can't tell if these are cloud dynamics or foliage, though. Those sometimes look and feel the same to me. I do have a city. Very rural area here. Both male and female subjects. I do smell smoke and burning. I feel this heat. Subjects in disarray. Movement looks like a structure caught fire. That is a deduction because I don't know, but this is what it looks like. Yeah, so I've got these structures, and then one of them has like darkness spewing from it. That was a bit dramatic, but that's what it's happening here. There are subjects scattered about running and fleeing and panicking. So much energy, so much cloud dynamics. Those are cloud dynamics. And so much chaos. It's like a smog. I see a stand or a platform. I'm getting the feeling of public speaking happening here, a public situation where there is a speaker, someone talking affront people. I feel something collapsing. I see peaks. There's lots of subjects. And it's the smog, darkness, the clouds, and then there is this environment that's kind of shaped like that. And then there is this smog going across the city, like this darkness. You can smell it, it's thick, you can't see, or this portion of the city. And then there are these structures, and then there's this really big structure, and there are all these subjects. It's so many, there's so much movement and energetics and cloud dynamics. Lots of activity, lots of commotion, lots of concern. And it feels like something was happening, then bam, anger, then bam, fire. Now, people running in that order. Like important things. I don't like it. Fire. Like, this was happening in my head. I really wish you could see the pictures going on in my mind right now. It's got this cool moderate temperature. This is definitely things on the base surface, good amount of foliage. There is a non-surface structure. And the ground is rough, hard, natural, and man-made. I'm seeing colors of green, black, gray, business casual clothing on these subjects here. I believe I see some a land-water interface as well. Yeah, that is what's going on here. This better not be Atlanta.
At this target, I'm noticing an indoor environment with multiple subjects. The base surface has a darker, possibly reddish hue to it, with man-made, semi-soft textures. I deducted a carpet. The three subjects indoors were the focus of the target at this time. Zooming out now, I noticed more in the room beyond a wide open space. There was another subject, possibly more than one, and man-made objects around the room. Upon closer look at the three subjects, I noticed they all had similar dark hues, formal attire on, and they all seemed male. Some were holding small objects in one hand. The middle subject seemed to have light skin and light hues hair. He had a slender frame as well. To one side, there seemed to be another subject with darker hair, similar formal dark attire, and a slightly wider frame. And on the opposite side, there was another subject who also had dark hair, albeit a slight shade of brown, and possibly some glasses or headgear around the eyes. I wasn't sure about this. This subject at first glance seemed to be the shortest. Taking one more glance at the far-off subject showed that the far-off subject was just focused on the objects in the room and other things seemingly unrelated to the three subjects near the corner of the room. Zooming out further, I can see that these subjects were in a large structure in an urban area that had a small body of water within it. and some hills off to one side. The dense urban area had structures of varying heights, but the structure these subjects were located inside seemed to be a larger one. The structure had bluish-gray hues and what seemed to be wide windows across the sides of the vertical surface. Off in the distance there seemed to be a road as well that was leading up to the urban area, and whitish-brown hues across the tops of the hilly landscape beyond the urban area. Moving back to the subjects, I conducted a deep mind probe at the target activity. The wider set dark-haired subject turns to face the more slender light-haired subject and begins to talk with relatively calm emotions and thought forms that evoked the directive of persuasion. This subject seemed to aim to coax the slender light-haired subject into some future action through his words. Meanwhile, the slender, light-haired subject was also calm, yet his calmness hid a slight nervous or anxious current of energy. This fearful energy was not directed at the subject talking to him, but rather to the consequences surrounding the future action that his attention was being brought to through the conversation. The third subject in the trio is simply listening and watching at this time. Moving on now to the target event, the environment is completely different. There is a tall, slender, light-skinned, light-haired subject standing in front of a large object that looks like a desk. There is a new subject across from him, and the room seems smaller and more curved in shape. In this new environment, the light-haired subject is moving another object across a flat object, like he's signing a document. And that action seems to be the main focus of what this subject is doing at the target time. The signing of this document in a curved room seems to be the major target event surrounding this target. And that is all the data that I have.
For my first visual, I have a base surface with level topography. I have a lot of man-made land here, and I have like a land-water interface. So this is all like water out here. And have like a lot of surface structures with some cloud dynamics. There's cold temperatures here. Okay. Next, I'm seeing like there's the base surface, but I'm seeing like vibrational energetics going upwards from the base surface and also going below the base surface. So looking at, like, I'm picking up a lot of activity and energy movement in like the urban area. So the layout, like there's a lot of surface structures. There's some like man-made land, and I have like there some somewhat smaller areas with natural land, like semi-soft land textures, and there's a lot of movement on the base surface, like movement of vehicles. I have movement of subjects outside,
on the base surface and have a lot of loud sounds and like clouds. Kind of reminds me of like a fog, kind of foggy, gray, a lot of gray hues here. As I'm kind of looking at the more natural areas of this urban environment, that I have like a gathering of subjects here. So like they're surrounded by surface structures, like tall structures. They're surrounded by movement by other subjects, but there's like a focused gathering of subjects in a more natural area of this urban environment. So they're all gathering here. There's other subjects like nearby that are walking, kind of moving like fast pace, but they're definitely like different from these subjects that are a part of this gathering. Like they're not really concerned with the same things in this moment. So yeah, as I'm looking at the subjects that are kind of in like the natural environment, like there's some foliage kind of throughout this area, and they kind of seem like they're in some sort of like formation or like arrangement, kind of like somewhat spaced out from each other, but they're still all together in a way. Yeah. So the activity that I'm picking up from these subjects, like, is very calm, like very calm space. Like in the urban environment, there's a lot of like activity and movement, but these subjects, they're kind of just like, some of them are just kind of like laying down. These are living subjects, and some of them seem to be kind of like huddled over, like scrunched up, but still like sitting or laying down together in this area. And I'm seeing like these vibrational energetics kind of like emitting from this area where these subjects are gathering. I'd say compared to the kind of subjects that are walking around this natural area rather than being like in the natural area, like the subjects outside, they seem like they have very more like kind of individual like things going on, whereas these subjects, they like they all have a kind of thinking about one another, but I'm seeing like there's a lot of diversity among these like their appearance, like complexion, and the colors of the like clothing that they're wearing. And the subjects here, they're pretty bundled up. Like there's cold temperatures here. Like wearing multiple layers, like hats and jackets, and like gloves. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, cold temperatures, very foggy. The subjects are outside. But I'll do like a deep mind probe of one of these subjects in the natural environment. So doing a deep mind probe of one of the subjects in this natural environment or natural area of the urban environment, they're very calm, positive. They are focused on like not really thinking about any problems, kind of thinking about each, like everyone in the group, even though they don't feel like they're super close, like they're just kind of there for the same purpose, but thinking about the other subjects, the subjects feels like pleasant to be around, dependable, like the other subjects can depend on each other here. But the thing that's kind of like different, like the other subjects that are kind of nearby and just like kind of taking notice of what the subjects in the group are doing, it's like the other like surrounding subjects just don't understand this group. They think they're weirdos, or there's something that they don't understand, or maybe don't feel welcome to join, or like they feel like they want to stay away from them, or like, I don't know, there's something maybe slightly off-putting about these subjects gathering in the group. So yeah. So kind of zooming back out of the general environment here, like I have, like there's the main urban environment, is very close to like a water, and I also have some like mountainous areas in the distance. So like where I see like these subjects meeting in these little natural pockets of this urban environment, it's like I'm also noticing in other, like I'm picking up similar groups of subjects, but in different areas, like a completely different urban environment. So like, yeah, there's a lot of surface structures, but it's definitely a different place. Like maybe a larger city, it's a busier area, more unpleasant smells, or maybe like a more dirty city. But even so, the subjects here, like they're, oh, that's the same color. They're like meeting in these natural environments in a somewhat similar like group information, also emitting those energetics, and it feels like whatever they're intending to do is like building a connection to the subjects in other urban environments, like those vibrational energetics are traveling or connecting to groups in other urban environments. So they're like all kind of tuned in together. It doesn't feel like a negative thing, but they are just a lot of subjects that are off-put, don't like the idea of this, or maybe there's something secretive about it that makes this group not super popular or like well known. But what I'm seeing, like if I look at kind of what led to these subjects grouping together, I'm seeing like it's kind of like some sort of presentation, or like something, like I'm seeing flashing, like a screen, like flashing different images, and each of these subjects, not necessarily together, but at some point has seen this presentation or compilation of images or something, and that is what has led them to go to these natural areas and meet up together. And what I'm seeing, like some of the flashing images, is like it's very focused on subjects. Like I'm seeing subjects kind of doing different activities, like interacting with one another. There's like, it's kind of weird. Like subjects in kind of different environments, but it's flash, like very quick dissection of media or activities. And there's like, I don't see a specific subject that is not like a specific subject, or it's not clear who created these and shared these images with this group. But they all have come to this, they've all individually found this media, and it has led them into this group to meet together for these focus gatherings in their natural areas of urban environments. Yeah, so I'm not seeing a specific like leader, but I can hear like, it's kind of like an intense, like hard, like distracting thing that there's like a male voice kind of like suggesting, like making suggestions, but they're not, it's not like orders, like telling these subjects what to do specifically, but they all kind of got this understanding from this media. Okay. That's what I have for this news event.
Okay, let's draw some conclusions from these data. November 2022 is going to be an interesting month. The reported events for November seem to be focused on what may be a single major event. The reports by Intysam, Kahmia, Shantae, and Yeme all seem to have the common themes of a huge energetics in an urban area, possibly explosive. In my own session, it seems to suggest that a meeting takes place in a large structure where some people sign something that seems to make them highly nervous, and I wonder if this seems to relate to what turns out to be an explosive energetics that are reported in the other sessions. When multiple viewers report on a similar event, that can possibly indicate that the event is dominating for the month, which would imply that it is a major event of some kind, November 2022. We shall see. So, that is it for our November 2022 edition of Farsight's Human News, the news before it happens. Thank you for watching. Please also join us next month in December 2022 for another look into the future of Earth humans. Also on FarsightPrime.com, be sure to look out for our next major mysteries project that will appear in November, The Mystery of Nikola Tesla. Our live stream events, the Farsight ET News, the next highly unusual intelligence briefing, more conversations with Harvey, as well as new Farsight economic forecasts. And remember, we do Farsight at Farsight. Farsight is our style of remote viewing, and vocabulary is important in these changing times. I'm Aziz Brown from Farsight. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.